Good morning, world. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy FRE$H Fresh at the Flyboy Way. That's TheFlyBoyway. Don't ask why, just check out the channel. And I'm back here with the season 1 finale of the Black Man's Guide to World Travel. This episode, we're talking about Caribana, Toronto, Canada. What Caribana is a weekend dedicated to West Indian and Caribbean people all over the world that takes place in Toronto, Canada. I'm going to break this Black Man's Guide down to different parts because it's so long, because so much happened and there was so much to get in detail talk about, and I don't want it to go over 30 minutes. I'm going to narrow it down to these topics. The first topic I'm going to speak about is accommodation and flights. I'm going to give you the price of the flights on average. I'm going to give you 3 forms of accommodations, which would be hotel, Airbnb, and where we ended up booking. And I'm going to give you the price of tickets for the events. I'm going to give you the price of the rental that I rented on Turo, and I'm going to tell you what I feel as though is enough spending money for you to bring for Caribana. Caribana usually starts on a Thursday and ends on a Monday. It is also usually in the beginning of August, and I believe sometimes it's at the end of July. Now, if you're just going for the fun of it and you don't want to do the band, then you don't have to worry about getting prepared until about May. 1 Canadian dollar is equal to 77 US cents. So basically, for every $100, you get $23 up for having a American dollar. That's why, no matter what people say, don't bring American money. Exchange your money for Canadian money, because when you get to Canada, yes, they take American currency in Canada, but for every dollar, you're basically losing 25 cents because they're going to exchange it dollar for dollar. They're not going to try to do the math. They're going to say, hey, this costs $5 Canadian, give us 5 American dollars. It's cost $10, you get the point. So if something costs $100 Canadian and you give them 100 American dollars, you basically just gave them an extra $23. The way they work the hotel is that they sell them in packages. Now the packages come with the hotel stay for the 3 nights, usually Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night, and it comes with event tickets for different events. Now, the packages range from about $450 to about $650, depending on what event and what quality you want. You also can pay for events separately. The price is usually between $30 Canadian dollars and $50 Canadian dollars for an event. Now, if you're going to do 5 events, which usually comes in the package of the hotel, and you're paying, let's say, $40 each event, you're basically paying $200. The other option you have is Airbnb. Now, Airbnb is a standard price. It's not per person. It's usually a standard price. And from what I've heard from the people I met there, Airbnbs were running about $600 for the weekend. Each event has a different package it goes to. The package I chose was the daily event, which cost $175 for the early bird, which then went up to $200 like a week later, which before the event went up to $250. And a lot of the activities were not included because they were not available. You got like a substitute activity. So what you want to do is you want to make sure you get your hotel first or your Airbnb. And once you get your hotel and your Airbnb, you then want to get your money right for your flight, because you won't be able to get your tickets for events until the 15th of July. You can get a flight from almost anywhere in the US to Canada for less than $300 or $400. So I would focus on getting the hotel first, because that's something you can't change. Everything and everyone is in the same area when you stay at the hotels or the Airbnbs downtown Toronto. So that, I believe, is the best choice. Now, when it comes to flights, I was saying flights $200, $300, $400. I booked about 4 months earlier, and I end up only paying $205 through Porter Airlines from New York to or from Newark, New Jersey to Toronto, Canada, downtown, and it was perfect. I paid $205 plus $30 for baggage. Starting at this point of time that you see on the screen right now, I'm going to talk about women. Now, during all of my Black Man Guides, I always tell you at this point I'm going to talk about women, because a lot of women watch my Black Man's Guide, and a lot of people don't want to see all the information about women, so I try to put it towards the end, and I give you a time starting point that you can stop at if you don't want to hear about the women. As far as spending money, if you want to live and really experience the fullness of Caribana Toronto, I suggest you bring 100 American dollars for every day. That will help you get a full experience. Now, that's not including the fact that you do need to have your events, your hotel, and your transportation paid for. That $100 a day is separate. So if you're coming on Thursday, you need 100 for Thursday, 100 for Friday, 100 for Saturday, 100 for Sunday, and maybe 50 for Monday, because you're not going to be here Monday that long. So that's $450 if you're coming from Thursday to Monday, and if you're just coming from Friday to Monday, then you only need $350. Food and everything is similar to United States prices, maybe about $1 less, maybe $1.50 less. But then you got to also remember you're paying in Canadian money. So whereas in America you would get like a number one from McDonald's for like $8 or $7, here you'll get it for like $6 or $7, but it's in Canadian dollars. So really it only costs you like $5 or $6 American dollars. Most of the hotels are all in the same 2 or 3 block radius or strip, whether it's Intercontinental, whether it's the Marriott, whether it's the Hilton. They're all like around like King Street and Brand Avenue, and that's where the downtown area is. There's also some clubs that I learned from walking around that, you know, they're like $15 admission Canadian dollars or $20 Canadian admission, and they're worth it, like Regulars, or there's another spot around the corner from it, or like Toy Box and things like that. But mainly for Caribana, I'm going to talk about just the events, because the events are basically what everything circles around. Right now, I'm going to give you a brief synopsis of my whole trip and each activity, each event, and since I've already given you the price and the summary and the cost of everything, now I'm going to give you a talk/video, because you'll be able to see the activities in the background as I talk about them, and hopefully you enjoy it. Once again, if you want to see the full in-depth parties, events that I'm going to go through this list real quick, you can go and watch the 6 videos I dropped earlier this month. We arrived in Toronto at 9 o'clock in the morning on Thursday morning of Caribana. When I arrived in Caribana, I arrived at Bishop Airport, and my Toro rental car driver, who was going to meet me, met me right outside of the airport. His name was Paul. He was very helpful. Paul gave me the keys to his 2006 Jeep Wrangler, sitting on 33-inch tires, 4 inches off the ground. The car cost me 58 Canadian dollars a day, and that was times 5 days. And then changed into American dollars, it ended up being something like 300 American dollars and some change. So I drove the car from Bishop Airport in Toronto to pick up my friends in Pearson Airport. We then went from downtown and met all of our friends at the Airbnb we had booked in Vaughan. Now, for those that don't know, Vaughan is like 45 minutes away from Toronto. It's a nice drive, but you know, it's an amazing area, suburbs, and you know, upper middle class, and we rented an entire house. This house was amazing. The house cost us about $253 a person. I think that estimates about $1,800 for 5 days, Thursday through Monday, which was awesome. I mean, it was amazing, because like it had 9 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, the outside, everything was brand new, furnished. It had some kids stuff around it, but it was like an amazing place to stay. And if it was closer to Toronto, I would have suggested it in the Black Man's Guide to Toronto Caribana, which is what I gave you guys estimate of earlier. That's why I said the hotels in Toronto and the Airbnbs in Toronto are the best place to stay. But this is where we stayed. So the first night we got there was Thursday. We didn't make any plans or plan any events for Thursday, because Thursday we didn't want to have to like rush and do stuff after we unpacked. So once we got the liquors and stuff, we decided, all right, we're going to go to this place called Cube Nightclub downtown Toronto. Now, we went online and we seen Cube and the tickets were available, so we ended up paying about $30 each for the tickets, and we bought the tickets the same day. So it wasn't one of those events that you had to book in advance and get everything ready for it. So we went down to Cube and we hung out. We had a great time. We got some liquor. We toasted up. Now in Cube there was a lot of people from the States. It was a couple people I met there from Toronto, like 3 or 4 people. Once we finished Cube, we kind of split up. You know, I went with one of my other friends. I don't want to say his name, but I went with one of my other friends and the girl that I had met in Toronto. We went to grab some food and we hung out a little bit. The next day was the biggest event. That's Friday. The biggest event, I feel as though, for the whole Caribana as far as events, minus the parade, is Daylit pool party. It's been sold out every year that it's been around from what I've been checking, and it was basically sold out, or tickets were sold out online like 2 days before Caribana started. So we got to Daylit and it was crazy. Now, Daylit is in a nightclub called Rebel. It's in one section of the nightclub called Rebel. Now, Rebel has like 5 different sections. Like, it's so crazy because it has like 5 different sections with 5 different types of music, and it also has a pool area that's called Cabana Pool Bar. Now, the tickets for Daylit was a little bit off because it came in the package that we got, but the tickets only got you into the Daylit Rebel area and outside. But I didn't really see a pool in that area. The pool was in the Cabana pool area part, and that part was an extra $30 Canadian. So to get in that part, we paid the $30 because for us, it's about the experience. And that part was wild. The first part where Daylit area was wild. It was crazy. Women were dancing. They was getting drunk because, it was City Boy and Hot Girl Summer. So you already know this year was really nuts. And it was a little crazy in the first part. But when you got in Cabana Pool Bar, it was like no holds bar. I mean, you can see the videos in the background. I'm trying to make sure I appropriately explain this so I don't get demonetized. But it was one hell of a difference between the first part of where Daylit was at and Cabana Pool Bar. Once we left Cabana Pool Bar, we were walking back to the car, and we wanted to cause a little scene. You'll see more of the video of the aftermath of the Cabana Pool Bar when it comes to the women part. But we had one hell of a time. We met some cool females. Later that night, we were supposed to come back to Rebel because Rebel was going to open the rest of the parts for Set It Off. Now, Set It Off is the activity that's probably the biggest hip-hop activity of the whole Caribana weekend. And I was thrilled to go. But I had made plans to hang out with a woman that I met on Bumble in one of the pregame episodes. They went to Rebel, but I went to go hang out with the friend from Bumble. Now, that's going to also be in the women part, but I'm going to give you a brief overview of some things because this is part of Toronto nightlife. So we went to something called Brand Street, and we just walked around. We walked for about like 5 to 6 minutes and ran into different people, talked and conversed with the people. And, her and I were just talking, and she was giving me the explanation of downtown Toronto area and how it works and how the clubs are really like apartment building type setups. It's kind of dope. It's kind of dope when you think about it. Different places like Regulars and Toy Box, and we ended up going to another place called, I think it's Piggy's or something like that. I'm not sure what it was called, but I'll show you in the background. And the good thing was that they told us that bars close at 2:30, and the clubs were staying open to 4. I wasn't trying to go to a club because we had already just came from a big thing, so we went to a bar. And the bar at first didn't want to let us in because it was already like 1:45, 2 o'clock, and it was almost over. But when he realized that I wasn't from Toronto and I was from New Jersey, he was real cool. So I would say Piggy's is a place, I don't know what's called Piggy's, but you'll see it in the background. It's across the street from Toy Box. I would suggest going there because the bouncers were cool. I don't know if the other guy was the manager, and he let us in. We didn't have to pay any cover charge, nothing like that, and sat down and had a couple drinks and good times. Now, the next day was Saturday. I stayed out that night, so we'll get more into that later, but I stayed out that night. All of my friends went back to the Airbnb. When I got to them the next day, got there around like 7:15, and I was ready to, get some sleep real quick. So I slept until about 9 o'clock, and then I woke everybody up and said, hey, we got to go to this parade because the parade started at like 8 o'clock. We really didn't even get out the house until about like 12. So 12 o'clock, we got out the house and we went to go get some breakfast, something to eat. We went to a place called the Boom Factory or something like that for breakfast, and the breakfast was pretty good, and after we ate, I wanted to go, but everybody else wanted to go back to the house. So we go down to the parade, and we park on like a side street because there was really no parking, and the parade was like in a different area. We first walked to the parade, but it was pretty much over, but the let out was still going on, and people were still in the area, but we didn't want to pay $25 because it cost $25 to get into the fence part of the parade. So we ended up parking on the side street and linking up with some people that went by, playing the music. and I end up like getting on some kind of like major like entertainment YouTube channel that's in Toronto that has like millions and millions of followers and subscribers, called 6 Buzz TV or something like that. And I got on it by accident because when we were down there, we met up with some cool Toronto dudes from Toronto. I think they were from the north side of Toronto. And I had a Jeep Wrangler, and they had a Jeep Wrangler. They had a blue one, I had the black one. It was kind of dope. Like, we set it up, so we parked right next to each other, and we both played music, and we drew a lot of attention. So it was some cool women from, one was from Toronto, and the other one was from Brampton. Now, I didn't, know what Brampton was, but eventually I get to know, like, Brampton's like a little bit more of the urban area. So it was kind of funny because, like, I'm from Newark. I think the woman and I had a connection because we both from like an urban area. So we stunted a little bit, got in the car and danced and stuff. And while we was dancing, I was filming, because you guys, you probably play in the background so you guys can see it. While we was dancing and filming, I didn't know that it was an interview being conducted for 6 Buzz TV. And he seen us dancing and was like, yo, what's going on here? And it was kind of cool because, like I said, it was a random occurrence. We missed the parade on time. We parked on some random street, and somehow it randomly came across one of the biggest entertainment online shows, and they caught it on camera. So that was cool. Champagne Trilogy was a party in a big event center. The thing about Champagne Trilogy that I didn't like was the way it was set up, because the liquor line was so long, and it wasn't enough of them, and it took a long time. Like, I don't speak negatively about any parties. I still had a great time, because I'm gonna have a great time anywhere I go. Plus, I met a woman who eventually we ended up going on a nice a romantic date at the end of the trip. And so I say Champagne Trilogy was a good outcome for me, but I didn't stay the whole time. I left at like 1:30. So I left at 1:30 because I met up with a woman inside the club, and it was like they left at like 1. And I said, hey, let's meet up again. Let's go somewhere else. So we ended up going someplace called AEW. I didn't record it. I never been to AEW, but I didn't record it because it was like, it was when you first meet a woman. We'll get back to that in the women part 2. I'll put that in the women part also. Now, Sunday is the last day that we were there, and there were 2 major parties. The first one was called Carnival Pool Experience at the Toronto Event Center, and the second one is called Lit at Toy Box. All right, everybody, let's go get some breakfast. We're not morning people. All of the pool parties, all the day parties started at 2 o'clock, and they ended at 8 o'clock. But we didn't get to this place. They even told us, they warned us, they said, if you don't get here by 3, you're going to have to wait in a line. But there's no way we can get there by 3. We left the club at 5. Then we woke up like at 1, and then we got food, get dressed, and then came down there. So we got there around 4 o'clock, and we had a 45-minute drive. So we got to Carnival Pool Experience at 4 o'clock, and it was nuts. Looking in the line, there was some amazing women in this line. I mean, amazing women here, and it was packed. So when I got inside, I actually met up with this this woman from London. Her name was Sonia Camara. I'm probably saying her last name wrong, but it's on my on one of the videos, the Carnival Pool Experience video. You'll be able to see it, and this is at the Toronto Event Center. So we went there, and I met up with her and her 2 friends. Her 2 friends were from Jersey. I don't know their names. I forgot what they told me. My bad, y'all. If y'all listening, y'all watching this, they was cool though. They was from Jersey. After we left to Toronto Event Center for Carnival Pool Experience, we got some food, got showered, got dressed for the last event. And the last event was at Toy Box. Now, Toy Box was a madhouse. I mean, wall-to-wall people. When you come in, they had a photo booth. It was dope. Like, the only thing that I would say that kind of like, on me, I was like, damn, it was that it was so many people that we went and bought a table, $1,200 for like 3 bottles. And it ended up, it was dope because we had a little area. But the issue was that you couldn't really get into the crowd to like try to finagle yourself and mingle with women and things like that. So it was a little bit more difficult to enjoy fully. But I had my homies, and we brought some women up there to hang out with. So it was dope because you basically had to pick of the litter, because the position that we was in, as far as the booth that we bought, was like in the front of the club next to the DJ booth, overseeing like the whole club. After Toy Box, we all, we went back to the Airbnb because a lot of people had to wake up early to catch their flights back. My flight wasn't until about 3 o'clock. Well, I didn't have to be at the airport till like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So everybody dropped their cars off and they went to the airport the next day. We all said our goodbyes. And then I went and I hung out with the woman I met in Champagne Trilogy. We went to the CN Tower. If you do want to do the CN Tower and you want to eat there, I didn't actually do the actual tour of the CN Tower, but it also comes with if you eat there. And for me, eating at the CN Tower costs about, I took a friend, so it gives you about 2 meals. So you can eat you get like an entree, and you get a entree and a dessert, or appetizer and an entree. You choose, and you get that for about 70 Canadian per person, I believe it was 70 or 80 Canadian per person. Ended up being like $60, 60 American dollars each person. So it's like about 120 I spent for both of us, and I think it's something that you should want to do because the CN Tower is amazing. The technology of it, the way it spins around while you're inside, and you get to get the whole 360 view of the Toronto downtown area. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Sightseeing is not my biggest thing, but it's something I recommend you doing if you're going to Caribana, because it's right there. It's right in the main area. Now we're going to get into the women during Caribana Toronto, Canada. Okay, so let me start off by saying this. If you're looking for pros, there aren't any pros. I didn't come across any pros. Doesn't mean there aren't any pros, but I'm going to still say there aren't any pros. But here's the good part. You don't need them in Caribana Toronto. There were stories that I discussed with guys that were in the pool party about women getting intimate with guys in the hallways of hotels. Now, the hotels have elevators. Like one hotel I was at was like 300 Front Street. It has elevators, but it also has stairs that people walk down. And it was an infamous thing where they said multiple nights people were just being intimate in the stairwell. There was another hotel at the Intercontinental, I believe it was, or the Hilton. I don't know which. It was another story I heard from somebody. These are stories that reliable guys. I'm just gonna say they're reliable guys. And it was like there was rooms that was set up for guys to just go hang out with women that was just like, it was crazy. But so when it comes to women, don't worry if you're looking for a woman to hang out with and you didn't pregame. You have no fear. You have no worry. What happens in Toronto only stays in Toronto if it's not on YouTube. All right, so let's start with my experience. Now that I've given you a little analysis of why I was trying to say staying in hotel is the best thing. Yeah, for women, it definitely is. But I'm going to give you a little bit of my analysis, my self-analysis. Now, the first thing I want to discuss is pre-gaming. In my earlier episodes, I showed you that I pre-gamed. One of the women that I met there was Amira. Now, Amira was the one that I told you I didn't go to Rebel for, and I went to hang out with her versus going to Rebel with my friends for the Set It Off party. But I had met her on Bumble. Now, that was my first time using Bumble, so it was kind of, a little bit difficult because in Bumble, you only can send a message back to the women that send a message to you first. So when I met her, she was very energetic. I'll say it like that. She's very energetic. She's very talkative also, and she was cool. You know what I mean? So we went out, we went downtown, we partied and stuff. We walked. She told me about the city of Toronto. And if you want to hear the actual words that we were talking about, I actually have that in my other videos. Then we went to the bar, we had a couple drinks, couple shots, and she was very gracefully to show me the place where she stays. She has a dope apartment, man. It's a dope apartment with a penthouse view of the whole downtown city of Toronto. This view was amazing. I wasn't at the highest point of it, but it was like 10 or 11 stories up, and it was an amazing view with like a deck, and it was just her and I, and it was real dope, man. It was real dope. I actually, like I said, I ended up staying there overnight. The second woman that I met over there was the woman that I met off of Instagram. When I say I met off of Instagram, I actually hung up a picture I actually posted a picture of a Canadian flag and, said I was going to Caribana, and she liked it. So when I seen her, I'm like, oh, she's very attractive. Let me hit her up and see what she's doing. And she's like, oh, she's going to Caribana too. So she was a good friend. We linked up. We hung out at Cube, and she was like real cool. Like she's real cool because she went, she's very attractive, so she had some guys like offering her to come sit and buy bottles and stuff, and then she invited me over. So I was like, it was a little bit funny to me because the guys are pretty it's a weird feeling. Like, I guess the guys are pretty nice because they was from Toronto, and she invited me over to the to their table, like where they were, or to their section where they were, like, she wanted to introduce me. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I guess just Canadians are just that nice. And they asked me if I wanted to drink. I was like, no, I'm not really a big drinker. That's cool. But they dapped me up, and that was that. That was the one that we hung out after the Cube, and she was cool. It was a cool experience, and she was real cool. After a certain time, it's very hard to meet up with women, and unless you have a vehicle, which is another reason why I said renting is good, because at the end of every event, all women are lined up trying to get back to their hotel. And if you have a vehicle and they don't have to wait for an Uber, guess who is Superman now? You are. So I would suggest getting a vehicle if you can, without having to pay for parking. I would suggest it because it's very useful, if you want to like try to get the best of quality of women. Here's a little tip about getting women in person during Toronto Caribana. Make sure you have a very well-developed Instagram page. Now, the reason I say you should have a very well-developed Instagram page is because long gone are the moments where you can just give your number and everything will be smooth. If you give her a number and it's not associated to any photo, any videos, or anything like that, odds are that woman is not going to remember you. But if you have an Instagram page, women are more likely to give you their Instagram page than their phone number. So if you say, hey, give me an Instagram page, I'm going to shoot you a DM right now, make sure you get it, this is and this, you have a better chance of getting something planned for later that evening. Now, here's another tip. You want to make sure you get something planned for at around 7 o'clock. Because if you don't have anything planned about 7 o'clock and you're not in a hotel or an area where there's a lot of women, the odds of you coming across a woman are going to be slim to none. Like, it was very hard for us out in Vaughan to like come across a woman if I didn't plan prior to it. You get what I'm saying? So it's like you want to make sure you plan like 7 o'clock to say, hey, what club are you going to? Hey, where are you going to be? Oh, let's link up. We're going to the same club. That's cool. Now, that's another disadvantage when it comes to women. If you don't go to the same club, the odds of you linking up with them are going to be a little bit harder. So let's say the girl went to Blocko and I went to, Cabana Pool Party. It's a little bit more difficult because she's not going to come to Cabana Pool Party because it's going to cost her more money and all her friends at Blocko. And I'm not going to go there because I'm not going to pay for two places just for the chance to meet a woman. So I would say all this would be eliminated if you just stay in the hotel area. Honestly, the best way to put this is as soon as you see a woman, go after it. I mean, you can probably take her away from the club as long as she's been there for at least 3 hours, or you can meet her that same night. So as soon as you meet a woman wherever you're at, say, listen, I want to hang out with you tonight. And here's the trick. When I told you that the Instagram was the way to get to all of them, women love for you to take a picture of them because they love having pictures of themselves. So what you do is when you meet a woman, you take a couple pictures and say, oh, she looks fly or something like that. And then you say, hey, I'm going to send it to you on Instagram later. All right. And that way you can, she'll be waiting for your call or waiting for your thing, and you can set something up that way. That pretty much works. But I don't want to go over 30 minutes, and this was very long. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. If you have any questions, any comments, or if you know anything about Caribana that you want to mention so everybody else can learn, please do so in the comments. I respond to all comments when I see them. And the next time I do go to Caribana, I'm going to do the soca and the reggae part. The reason why I did only the hip hop part this time is because both parts need to be separated because it's very much two different experiences if you do soca and the parade versus if you do hip hop and the parties. So it's your boy FRE$H Fresh at the Flyboy Way. That's THEFLYBOYWAY. Don't ask why. Just check out the channel. Peace. Good morning, world.